I have just one announcement. Isn't that great? As was mentioned earlier this afternoon, the District 1 fall meeting will be on the 28th of October at the Detroit Marriott in Troy. We have to have the reservations on the 18th to the headquarters. So for that day, it will be $17, and please, members, get yours in as soon as possible. And Ellen will take the money, or Doris. Well, I take the money. About the flowers on the stage, all these beautiful hardy mums are for sale, and they are for $4 each. And all the little gals that were on your tables, if they are not with a name on them, they're for sale, and they're $10 each. And we'll be back there at that table to take your money later. And we'll take orders too on the dial if somebody wants a particular card or something later. Probably much later. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Now I'd like to turn this over to Ellen Johnson, our Vice President, who will tell us all about the program. Ellen, where are you?
Well, they told me when it was my turn, that meant that the show was going to start. I hope everyone can see you've all got your chairs turned around. You don't need to worry about showing your back to the other person. They want to see you. Like this. You can tell I'm not used to my I've always been told I could be heard in the next county. Most of you, many of you, know Mary Ann personally, by reputation, but I want to tell you just a little bit about it, or for the sake of those people who haven't met Mary Ann. As soon as I get my facts together. First of all, Mary Ann started her career, as we see it now, first with study. She was an art major at the University of Cincinnati and at Purdue University. After studying, the next step for all of us is work. Worry, but fun too, because she married Sam. She had 3 children and now has 3 grandchildren. And I'm sure she had fun all through the years. She loves music. She loves to sing. For 25 years she was with the Ford Chorus. Many of us know her casually as a friend, also as a neighbor and as a co-worker. The Wayne Garden Club has for many years appreciated her energetic and enthusiastic approach to whatever was asked of her to do. She shared her knowledge of art and design in all of our projects, helped whenever she could. Mary Ann has been an accomplished seamstress for many years. She told me she started sewing as a youngster, and after many years she made the natural move to being a creative seamstress. And from there, she made her own patterns using her own design. About 11 years ago, she went, as we call it, professional, with her skills and her own design. She started with a collage jacket, of which you will have an opportunity to see many of them today. She marketed those through Saks Fifth Avenue and many of the boutique shops around Michigan. She was on Channel 2 in a fashion show featuring her own collage jacket. But then the work was necessary too, so she progressed to teacher, lecturer. She has taught 8 different seminars for Haberman's fabrics on the making, especially of these collage jackets. She's taught sewing seminars at Schoolcraft College and also at Oakland University. She's taught apparel design at Eastern Michigan University. She's even been a prize winner. At a fashion show. I knew she'd do that. Okay. She has traveled and given the seminars, been keynote speaker, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in Texas, Ohio, Dayton, Indiana, or Dayton, Ohio, and Indiana. The Detroit chapter of the American Sewing Guild was privileged to have her as their co-chairperson at one time. Some of you have seen her quilt show fashion, for fashions at the quilt show luncheons. They've been held in Ann Arbor and in Dearborn. And now she's going to give us the benefit of her talent. I'm sure you will enjoy the show. Applaud when you want to. Laugh when you want to. Nobody cry. But it's going to be beautiful. Thank you. Well, I have one more thing to say. I have one more thing to say. Marianne, the title of her program is Treasures by Trees. Well, what's a treasure? I kind of like Webster, and he tells us that a treasure is something of value. It's priceless, to be taken care of. It can be money, it can be jewels. Something to be collected, and for some people, it means something that they're going to hoard and not show to anyone. A treasure can also be a collectible of rare things or a person. All of these we promise you today. Marianne is going to open her trunk of treasures and share them with us.
Thank you, Ellen. That's one of the nicest introductions I've ever had. A trunk show, they said, so I speedily sped to my cupboard, perchance to find one. Now the trunk, of course, must be big as a horse to contain all the sewing that I've done. Now these clothes, they ain't tame, but to this kind of a dame, they suit very well. Now don't snicker. I love to sew and get carried away, I know. Just enjoy them, and later we'll bicker. But alas and alack, you must please turn your back so this lady can hurry and change clothes. Each dress is a dream. You'll stifle a scream and say, I wish I could make one of those. Now I brought a screen to hide the scene of the show that's about to unfold, and wear the trunk on my nose, which I suppose gets a laugh from the young and the old. Ridiculous, yes. Does it go with my dress? Couldn't you see it? In purple or pink? Or perhaps a giraffe would get a big laugh. But tell me now, what do you think? Now, I don't mean to be gruff, but let's cut out all this stuff. The noses, I mean, are a drag. Let's get back to the clothes, because I got plenty of those. You see, sewing is really my bag. Now, if you came here for fun, you're at the right place, hon. My clothes can really be crazy. I put a sequin here, a tassel there. Oh, these fingers can never be lazy. Now, I'm glad you could come. I hope you have fun. I'll explain all my outfits to you. And if I inspire, I'll hold my head higher. And maybe you will want to sew, too. thank you. A little bang this afternoon, a little rap, and I thought I'd better make the kind of outfit that went with rap music. I was asked by the Wayne Garden Club to do this program about a year ago, and it's taken me about a year to learn all that. The mind doesn't seem to function quite like it used to, I'm afraid, on memorizing things. But anyway, this summer, my granddaughter, who's 8, was visiting, and we were driving in the car, and I practice this every time I get a chance. When I have a little audience, I say, would you like to hear my rap number, you know? And so she was sitting there, and I said, Courtney, would you like to hear this rap song I'm going to do for the fashion show? And she said, well, sure, yeah, that'd be great. So I went through it, and she was kind of bug-eyed, and I said, well, the way I really practice it, and I have learned to do it, is by turning on the radio to a rap station when I'm driving. And, you know, they do it real fast, and they'll that on the background, you know, and it makes me, you know, say it faster and everything. And so I said, I'll turn on the music and I'll do it with that. So I found this rap station and turned it on. And there it is. And I'm doing this rap number, you know, and she was just like, she said, how did he know that song? For me, it's all the same. Trust me. She was totally amazed that he knew my song. And also, did you know that you can rap to Dr. Seuss? Anybody ever try to rap to Dr. Seuss? It's fun. Try it sometime. I'm a fan of Dr. Seuss's, and I'm sorry that he passed away just recently, and I thought I'd kind of bring that into my talk a little bit because it has something to do with my creativity. And when I was a youngster, one of my favorite stories by Dr. Seuss was, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. Does anybody, are you familiar with that song, that book? Well, I loved that book, and I didn't know until the kids were, you know, growing up that was a Dr. Seuss story. But so I went and bought it the other day because I thought, I got to look at this book again. And the reason I'm bringing it into this talk is that the story is about a little boy, and his father wants him to observe what's happening on his way to school and then come home and tell him all the things that he saw on Mulberry Street. Well, everything looked pretty dull to him, to tell you the truth. There was a cart and a horse and, you know, kind of dull. But in his imagination, he imagined that this horse was not a horse anymore, but it was a reindeer with big, you know, big antlers on it and racing down the street, and instead of the cart, it was a big sleigh behind him. And then he imagined, all kinds of wonderful things. There were dancing girls and everybody. They had a band playing, and the police were there. The mayor came down, and in his mind, he was imagining all these things that he saw on Mulberry Street. And then, of course, at the end, when he comes home and tells his father, obviously just, you know, he said, well, Dad, you know, really all I saw was this little cart and horse. But his mind played these wonderful tricks on him, and he just enjoyed the walk home. And the reason I'm telling you all this is the fact that my friends don't understand a lot of times when I go into fabric shops and how I can spend so many hours in a fabric shop. And it's because I absolutely love beautiful fabrics. And when I go into a fabric shop, I do not see bolts of fabric. I see billowing skirts. I see lovely blouses. I see wool coats to keep you warm. I see things that are already made up when I see these bolts of fabric. So it's a treat to me, and it gives my imagination play. And it's not only the visual thing that I see, but I have to touch the fabrics and feel the fabrics. And I go around and I touch the taffetas and I touch the wools and that wonderful feeling, and you know whether you can make something that has to be, has a little stiffening to it, or you want the soft fabric, so you have to touch and feel at the same time. And there's also the scent of fabric, and I don't go around sniffing fabric. I don't want you to think I do that. But when I was about 12 or 13, I was invited to my first little dinner dance thing, and I had to have a long dress, so I made my long dress. And it was a taffeta, sort of an embossed with roses or something on it, and you know, I'll never forget it. It was very pale blue. And when I pressed it, you know, to press the seams and everything, the aroma of the taffeta would come up at me, and it has a certain scent to it. And so a couple years ago, when I was making a taffeta dress for one of my daughters, and I was pressing it, that same odor of the fabric came up to me, and it triggered the memory of that old dress that I made all those years ago. So it's just a wonderful experience if you like to sew and if you enjoy beautiful fabrics. It just, my mind just goes wandering, and that's what always inspires me. People say, well, where do you get your inspiration? That's always the fabric. So with that, I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm wearing. And I might as well get the commercial over with first, folks. I have made a pattern, and I designed this pattern. It's called L'Amour, because once you make one, you will just love to make more and more and more. And it has all these different ways that you can make this pattern up in one container here. It's $10 for it's a deal. But I have to tell you that this is one of them, and this one is not in that pattern. I keep experimenting with the pattern and doing different things. It has one seam here in the back, and I'll show you, and I've got to put this mic down to do it. This is how it's made, basically. Take a piece of fabric, and the measurement of the dress or the coat is your hip size plus 2 inches. That gives you your width around here. So you would lay your fabric out. This is the pattern. You fold it in half, and you cut it. And this is the pattern. This is a small one, but you cut it up here, in here a little bit. This is the cape. You make a hole in here for your head, and there's a seam right here. You just stitch up a little bit right there. And that's why I brought this little half-size mannequin, so I can show you how it goes. And this is the cape, and you flip it over. Voila! That's it. And I know you can do it. You can even do it by hand if you wanted to do it. But you can make a lot of different ideas from it. And if anybody has sergers, it's great to just serge around the edge. You can make it even faster. But I have several other outfits made up in this pattern in the show, and I will tell you when I'm bringing out another L'Amour. This is a L'Amour, and I made this a couple weeks ago to go on the cable show that they had advertising this program, and of course I had nothing to wear. And I thought I'd better make something a little update, and of course, plaid is in, and usually I don't fool around too much with what's in because I don't go for trends. I do a lot of collage things, and they're not trendy type things. But anyway, plaid is in, zippers are in, hats are trying to come in. So I made the hat to go with the outfit. And then it's, the snug pants. I didn't make the pants. And that's basically what this is. So let me go, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all my outfits. Some of them I'm going to try on. Not all of them, we'd be here all night. But and if you have any questions, ask me or wait till afterwards, and I'd be glad to have you come up, take a look at some of the clothes, and I'll try to pass them around so you see them up close, okay? Just a minute. Green here. This is another L'Amour. It's basically the same type of thing. It's just a little bit different with the zipper and so forth. Now this is a vest. It's a folkwear pattern, and this is a collage. All of the pieces are sewn onto a background, and there's pieces in this that are from an antique oriental jacket that I found at a resale shop. I do a lot of shopping at resale shops, antique shops, garage sales, whatever, to try to find bits and pieces of things to go together. And this piece was from the oriental jacket also. And then this piece also down here, I tried to save as much of the jacket as I could and then added other fabrics into it. But I was showing this, I guess I wore it, at a fashion show that we had out at the Bevy in Franklin when I was selling some things there, and somebody said, oh, I love that vest, you know, and she said, well, what would you wear it with? And she said, oh, I wear it with jeans. So, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder. You know, everybody they see things differently, and that's what's so much fun about collage sewing and doing things that are a little bit offbeat. You can, you know, you wear them with anything. I bring it because it's kind of fallish, and this is fall weather. And this scarf my daughter made for me. She is into sewing also, Sherry is. And she made me the scarf, and then I made the outfit to go with the scarf. So that's this cape is my design. Not the L'Amour, but I mean it is my design. And it's made out of wool. And it's a very simple design, actually. It's got panels on the side, and it's hooked up in the sleeve. And you know, a lot of these things happen by accident. The sleeves were, you know, kind of hanging down, and so I sort of stuffed something up there and kind of liked the effect, so I pushed them up. And that's, you know, I do a lot of designing in front of a mirror. I hate to be that, you know, looking in the mirror at myself all the time, but that's, you know, that's what it takes. You have to see how you're going to look in something. So I do a lot of it visually, looking into a mirror. But that is, would you come up here and put this on for me, Nancy? Yeah. Easier to do on somebody else, I think. What did you know? Now this I call my Phantom of the Opera cake. Here's your here. Now turn around. Let us see how that looks. Can you hear me without the mic at all? Is it carry okay back there? I'll try to do both. Okay. We'll turn around once more so I can show them. The back here, I wanted to show you, and she's going to be nice enough to walk around for me so you can see it a little closer. But I call this cheap smocking back here. And the way I've done it is that you put embroidery floss on the back side of the fabric, and you zigzag over it. And then you simply shear, you pull, you know, you tighten the threads and you shear it, and it gives this sheared effect, which is a similar smocking, but it's a lot quicker and easier to do. And so that's how that's done. It's the same pattern basically as this, very similar anyway. So Nancy, if you want to walk around a little bit and show them. Sure, yeah. I have models all over here that didn't even know they were going to be doing this today. But just quickly, I don't want you to take too much time, but just walk around and see. Now this coat, some of my things are a little crazy, as I told you. This I call my hands jacket. So you see the hands on it? And actually, it was not meant to be worn. However, I did have a little gal that came to one of my shows, and she just fell in love with it, and she looked darling in it. She really would have, you know, could have worn it well. But it was done for an art show out in Bloomfield Hills. They sent me an invitation to enter this, and I thought, yeah, why not, you know? Not knowing when I got out there and saw all the beautiful things that they had, I felt a little chagrin that I'd even entered, but it got a laugh, so. But anyway, I had this on a model, a mannequin, and there were, well, I have to tell you first that the idea of the show was celebrate life. So that's why I made this, that was life is a handful, celebrate. I turned it around. I had a sign on it that said that, life is a handful, celebrate. And underneath the bottom of this was, there had two big white stuffed hands, satin hands that came up around the mannequin. And she was coming out of the hands. Then the arms were stuffed with hands. She was holding a cocktail glass. There were streamers around her shoulder. I had a head on her, like for a wig head, you know, a wig on that, and a high silk hat with ticket stubs in it. And there's more. She was holding an inflated balloon that said, you know, party or something like that. Anyway, this was in the beginning of this Bloomfield Art show when you walked in. And like I say, it didn't win anything, but I actually put this up at a party one time, and it was just kind of a fun thing to have around. So this is my hands-on jacket. Now this is one of my winter coats. And by the way, I did want to tell you that I have worn all these things. This is my wardrobe. So if things look a little, you know, worn, they are. I've worn them all. But people seem to like to see them, and I like to show them, and it kind of inspires me to, you know, see what you think about them, or don't think about them. And this is my ski jacket. I made this when we went out to Yellowstone a couple winters ago, and it's wonderful fabric. It's rubberized fabric. So it really, you know, keeps out the snow and the wind and so forth. But the fabric, the print of the fabric, to me, looked like shattered glass. And so that's why, and that's why I kind of thought, you know, it's got to be a ski jacket, you know. And the pattern goes up kind of to a point here, the design of the printed material. So I kind of squished it up here and made a little starburst and stuffed something, made like a little flower up here. And then I found this wonderful wool to go around it. That was just happened to find, and put the openings on it. And then, of course, I had to have a hat, so I got a little beanie thing to go with it. So that was my ski outfit for that winter. And plus, I had gray you know, knickers to wear with it. We go cross-country skiing, not downhill. And gray stockings. Wool stockings, and I went all over town hunting for these wool stockings in the right color, gray, you know. We got out there, Sam, well, my husband's sitting back there. We got out there in the wilds of Yellowstone by ourselves, and I fell and broke my ankle. And it was snowing. I mean, it was bad. And so, to make a long story short, when they took me into the hospital, they were going to cut those stockings off. And I said, no, don't. I will bear the pain. Woman's vanity, I tell you. Now that I've given it away, I'm sure what do you think this is? Well, yes, that's Old Faithful, right. I spoiled it by telling you we were at Yellowstone. I had to make this special jacket. Yellowstone has a very wonderful spot in my heart. I worked there 2 summers when I was in college, and our youngest daughter worked there for years. So we went back in the winter to see it, and I said, I've got to make a special Yellowstone jacket. So here we have Old Faithful on the front, and then the Tetons in the back, Yellowstone Lake, and Mammoth Hot Springs over here on the right of the glacier, or the Old Faithful, you know. And when I first started doing this jacket, a lot of this stuff, it just happens, you know, and it's trial and error. You put things in, you take them out, and hours of work, really, but that's why I say I love to do it, so I don't mind. But anyway, when I was doing this Old Faithful, it was all white. You know, I didn't have any of this blue or anything in there. And I looked at it and I thought, God, that doesn't look like anything. And I said, it looks like, you know, in a comic strip, you know, where they have those bubbles with writing in it, like oh boy or hey or something. That's what it looked like. So then when I started putting the blue in it and, you know, the stitching, it made it look more like water all the time. So these are just things that, you know, you do by trial and error and you work out somehow. But that's my Yellowstone coat. Now I'm going to I'm going to put a dress on, and I tell you, part of the fun of this show is that I have to make sure that I've got the right bottom on with something so it doesn't look totally ridiculous. So I'm going to put this other dress on and show this to you just a minute. This is my fringed mink, and it's just muslin that has been fringed and, you know, put into a long strip, and I fringed it and threw it into the washer. It has to be 100% cotton or it doesn't work. And then I sewed it onto a sweatshirt, actually. And so that's my fringed mink. I call that fringed mink. And I dyed it. This is a dress that I made, I don't know, a few years ago to go to a wedding or something. I usually always make something for a reason. It's more fun that way. And I really like to use antique pieces of lace or doilies or something if I can. And for this one, this was from a tablecloth, and I found it. I know you would never know that, right? But it's used, you know what I mean? It's not sitting in your dresser drawer someplace at home. It's being used, and I've got another button here, but anyway, it goes up tight here. But then this is also another piece of lace, antique up in here. And then I put the ribbon trim through it. But I made the cape, or whatever you want to call this little thing, as long as this, because I didn't want to cut that. And it's okay. I mean, it looks better if I've got high heels on. But, you know, I made it as long as the tablecloth was, so I didn't have to cut it. And it hangs below the dress, but that's okay. Now, another little idea that I wanted to show you is something, and, you know, these things, you may not like this at all, but some of you might, so I'm going to tell you about it. If you have something like this little doily, you could put this around here under a suit or something as a little Dickie collar. My kids laugh when I say Dickie. Or something like this. You know, you could wear something like that. It just or on a dress or something. It just makes it a little different. I love capes, can you tell? This cape is another one that I made, and I used, you know, the part of a tablecloth again. And it's beautiful workmanship on this, I'm telling you. There wasn't a flaw in it. It was a really nice piece. So I made this, I call it my Superwoman dress. And this actually goes under it. It's pants and a top. This dress doesn't really go with it, but it looks all right with it to show you anyhow. But that's basically what that goes with. And let's see. Oh yeah, I'll leave this a minute. And I tell you, it's a good thing I got my hair cut, because with this quick on and off thing. And I tell you a funny story that happened a few years ago. Me with my fine hair, I used to wear wigs constantly, and they just, you know, I had a wonderful time with them. I'd wear red wigs, you know, blonde wigs, just all different colors, all long, short, whatever. It was fun. And one time I was on a bus trip with some friends, and some woman who will remain nameless, that's in this room, was sitting next to me. And she's always dressed to the nines. I mean, this woman is, you know, looks terrific all the time. So I'm sitting next to her talking, and had my wig on, and somebody behind me stood up and caught my wig, you know, pulled this wig off, flew down on the floor, and here I am sitting in this skull cap, looking oh so swell. And her eyes kind of got big. Mary Ann! Well, I'm telling you, I picked that wig up and slapped that back on my head so fast. I don't know how it looked, but it was on. And then when I got back, we got off the bus and had dinner, got back on the bus, and here was her husband wearing my skull cap. I thought, how did he get that? Oh, I tell you, wigs are fun, but they can be kind of horrendous too. And another thing happened to be, I've got some wonderful friends here from the Ford Chorus, and I don't know if they'll remember this story or not, but we put on Pajama Game one time, and I was out on the stage, and all of a sudden my mind just went blank. I could not remember the next line to save my neck, and so everything just sort of stopped. And this friend of mine came over, and she kind of, tell him, tell him. And she was feeding me this line, but the line was like a page and a half in the future. And if I had said that line, 80 people would have come out on the stage. That was their cue to have the rest of the Ford Chorus on the stage. So finally, they sent somebody else out a couple, lines later and threw me a line, and we picked it right up. But I want to tell you, those are times when you think it's endless when you're on stage. It probably was a matter of a couple seconds, but you feel like it's forever. So anyway, I'm going to get into my collage things now. And one of my coats, Alan Johnson, is doing such a great job back here of helping me. No, just leave it on the hanger, is fine. This is one of my collage jackets. And these are the things that I stay up all night and work on in the middle of the night. And this was one of my first ones, actually. And I take, this particular one is from upholstery fabric or drapery fabric, and cut the birds out, and apply them to background material. And then all the other little pieces, colors and so forth you see in there is separate fabric. So it's all pieced together onto a backing. And there's trapunto work. Now trapunto, to those of you who don't know, is like a quilting, but you put a piece of fabric behind the design, and then you quilt around the design, and you put holes in the back of where you want this cotton batting to be, and then you stuff behind there so that it makes the design stand out. So would you mind, Carol, would you mind taking that around, please? Just walk around a little bit. Some of these things you can see better up close. This is my bird vest. This is another collage. And the birds and the top fabric are one piece of fabric. Then the other pieces are separate. And this is the best example I have of collage sewing, because you first of all, you get a focal point to start with. The birds are the focal point. Then from there, you pick out your other fabrics, your colors, everything blends to that focal point. This is an oriental theme because the birds are rather oriental in flavor. So all of the fabrics that go with that have to be sort of sparse in design, and the colors, of course, have to blend. And all the way around, all the seams have to meet the fabric all the way around. It's almost like a sculpture in the round. And the way the quilting is done, it follows the bird's feathers in the back. So there's a lot of thought that goes into this collage sewing. And this is probably my best example of, this type of work. So would you mind just walking around with it for me? You don't have to take a lot of time, just kind of wander away. This is my holiday coat, and it's special to me because the white satin in it was from my daughter's wedding gown that I was fortunate enough to make for her, and it's all pleated and tucked. And when I started doing this, I was going to do it all in metallics, all metallic fabrics, and it was beginning to look like Star Wars or something. So I started taking things apart, taking some of the metallics out of it. And it was looking a little, then I put the velvet into it, and some of the, this ribbon here. And it looked a little softer than it did. And then, of course, I had to put the tassels on. So there's, like I say, there's a lot of work in them, but they're very satisfying. Behind the lace is gold lame, and then it has the rhinestones on it and beads. And this is kind of a timeless This is one that I made for my mother-in-law, and bless her, she passed away about a year or so ago, and so I got it back. And I love the pattern in the top. That's the focal point of this jacket, is this sort of a Far Eastern look to it. And I've done several jackets using that material. I got a real buy on it, kept going back for more. But again, all the different colors in the ribbons punch the design up, if you know what I mean. The blues pick up the little bit of the blue that's in this design, up this color up in here. And it just, you know, it adds to it. And then behind all of this is backed with a gold fabric, so that in case it flips up, you know, you see that gold fabric on the back of it. And this is kind of a simplified thing, but it's another idea for somebody if they sew. I've taken the fabric and cut the design out and appliqued it onto the blouse, and then put the jewels on it and so forth. Can you see it back there? Okay. Like I say, you're welcome to come up here afterwards and see things closer. Now, I said that I used this fabric, and this is was a winter coat that I had a couple years ago. It's like I say, it's sagging a little here. It's corduroy, but I really love this jacket, and it's all hand beaded. I put all the beading on by myself. And this trim down here at the bottom is wire. It's a wire trim. It's antique, and it's very fragile. But, you know, I didn't pay that much for it. If it goes, I'll put something else on. It's fun to use it. It goes with the rest of the jacket, and that's why I put it on there. And it has the zipper front, and it has the, you know, the fringe on it again back there. Okay. Now here is I love This coat is wool, and this is one of my early ones. Now it has a belt to it also. I think I put on a little weight. But anyway, I love the color of it, and the lining looks sort of like drape, so that kind of goes with, you know, with the design on the coat also. This is my dragon jacket, and I have blue pants, silk pants to go with this, and I made this to go down to see the King and I, of course. Yule didn't notice, though, I'm sorry to say. He was there, though. I did see one of his last performances, always great. But anyway, I wore it downtown for that, and this is taken from a piece of fabric, the dragon. I've cut it out. I've appliqued it on over the top of the seam of the coat, which is not exactly easy to do. I don't advise anybody else to try it. They don't have to. But I wanted it to be all in one piece. Can you see me over there? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And I put sequins on it. They're iridescent sequins that sort of make him look like he's slithered, you know. It catches the light. And it comes down the arm. And looks kind of horrible. That's my dragon. Now this suit I made this spring, and it is a piece of tapestry that I picked up in Atlanta. And it was in a rug shop, and I picked it up off the table and I was wrapping it around me, and this woman that worked there came over and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, I think I'm going to make a coat out of this. She said, I'd like to see that when you get it done. I haven't been back to show her, but I intend to. But anyway, the tapestry, I have hand done all of the sparkle stuff that you see on it. It's thread, iridescent thread that goes through it. There's beading on it, and any place I could embellish the tapestry, I've done it by hand. And this piece here, I also found in the same shop, in the cuffs. This is raw silk that went with it quite well. And it is a suit, and I've got enough fabric to make slacks. I think I'll make a pair of slacks to go with it. But then the top part of it is kind of interesting. It's, I've taken the bodice pattern and hit a larger piece of fabric, and then I just simply started to squish the fabric onto that bodice and tack it down. It's called fabric manipulation, for lack of a better word. That's what they like to call it these days. Anyway, that's the way that was done, and it gives it depth. Oh, yes. Did my ladies come back? I don't want them to come on back and sit down. I didn't mean for you to. Come on, Carol. This is another thing I wanted to show you, and I always bring it to my talks because I didn't do it. I did not do the handwork on this skirt, but it's absolutely beautiful work. It's all tiny cross-stitching. And the figures are just exquisite. I don't know the history of it, unfortunately. I bought it at the resale shop in Dearborn, and they didn't know anything about it. I bought the fabric. It was in a tube. It had already been put together, and one of the figures was already put on top of that seam. So I don't know what was, somebody was making a skirt or what they were going to do with it. But it was just in a big tube when I bought it for $25. And I made the skirt out of it and added, you know, the ribbons and so forth to it. But the workmanship on it, if you turn it over and look at the back, it is exquisite. And then I made a little blouse, kind of an ethnic look blouse to go with it. And it's a long skirt, but that's okay because it kind of goes with that, you know, with that design. Now, can I get one of my garden, Sharon, you're a garden clever, why don't you take that around for me, would you please? Instead of our guests doing all this, all this hard work. Okay. Now, here's another collage. And this is my design. I took a class in pattern drafting a few years ago, and this was something I made in class. And it has a side opening here. It opens down to about here. And again, I've taken the fabric and cut it out and appliqued it. And the collar up here is half of that. You get the picture. And it stands up so that it hugs your neck. It's wonderful. And it's got a piece of polyfluff in it so that it's quilted, and it really, you know, looks nice on your neck. And it has little bells on the bottom of the ribbon. It kind of ding-a-lings, you know. So that's my collage lounge outfit. Now, I call this my palm tree dress, and exactly that's what it is. I went down to Florida a few years ago to do a talk for the Sewing Guild down there, and I thought, I got to do something really screwy for this. So I did, and I keep fabric that sometimes you wonder what you're ever going to do with it, and the trim there for around the palm tree, this right here, is so ugly that I thought I'd never use it, but it's perfect for the palm tree. So you never know what you're going to find to put it on. And I have not worn this, but it's, you know, it's fun. Now it's time to change again. This is more comfortable. Now this is my Big Bird shirt, I guess you might call it, for lack of something else better. And I made this a few years ago too. And the where'd those pants to it? Oh, here they are. I was, this was in another show, and the gal that was wearing it was a real tall person, And so when I was telling them at this other show about this happening, I said, she was really tall. And I held the pants up to it. And they said, my God, she must have been tall. And actually, they're the kind, that squish into the boots. But they're not wearing those anymore, so I had to get some jeans to wear with this top. But I thought, while I was in this, I am such a ham and you're such a captive audience. And I know I don't have a piano, but I like to do a song that's kind of fun. And it goes like this. Will everyone here kindly step to the rear and let a winner lead the way? Here's where you separate the notes from the noise, the men from the boys, the roads from the Poinciana. Back in the bunch, I came up with a hunch. This was a time to rise and say, I see in my eye such a jubilant sky that the 4th of July will seem gray. Hey, will everyone here kindly step to the rear and let a winner lead the way? No, I did. I just got them. Just bought them. They were the last pair, I'm sorry. This is another collage. This is, I call this my medieval period. I was making medieval coats back a few years ago when the boots and the knickers were in, And this has the shishi mirrors on it. And also, this beautiful piece from an old dress is on the front of it. And it's velvet and velour. And it has some ribbon on there, this antique ribbon. And let's see, where's the other one then? This is the other medieval one. These have this Elizabethan sleeve. It kind of puffs up like that. And this is antique trim, and has just a tiny little bit of sequin in there to catch the light, just a little bit. And then it also has that cheap smocking on the back that I told you about before. And again, these sleeves are, squished up. That was sort of an afterthought. But that's another Elizabethan. Now, of course, no garden club program would be complete without a garden club suit, right? So I made this suit, and actually I was really happy. This was in Claire Schaefer's book, her new book that she has out, with my daughter modeling it. And the reason she had it in there was to show the effect of these flowers that are stuffed, and they're three-dimensional. Sharon, do you want to throw that around? Yeah, take that around, please. Here's another idea for those of you that like to do handwork. This is called Pakistani quilting around this part of it. It's very easy to do. It's fun to do. And I've done that around the jacket on this. It also has the blouse and has it on the pants also, down the side of the pants. So that's an idea if anybody likes to do that type of work. Oh, now I'm going to change again. Be right back. This is another kind of one of these wild outfits. That's something we wear down to get a cup of coffee at the local pub or something. But I wore it for a Ford Chorus show. And I sang applause when I was wearing it. And I bought this material at Kresge's for $1 a yard. I'm sure you probably can tell that also. But I just simply made a T, and I fringed it up, and then those things go into little worms. It's polyester, and it just makes those little wormy things like that. And the bottom is a jumpsuit, And so and then this is from not an antique dress, but a dress I found in a resale shop. This was the collar, and I added an antique, beading around the neck, and some little sequins around here. So that's how that's made. But the song I want to do for you, get another drink here. It's a song that I used to do in college days, yesterday, and it's a crazy song, and I can do it without a piano because I've done it that way for years and years. But you have to listen to the words, and it goes like this. The Persian kitten, perfumed and fair, stepped out of the kitchen to get some air. When along came a tomcat, lithe and long, skinny and yellow, lean and strong. Now he said to that perfumed Persian cat, as she strutted about with much eclat, waiting for a little time to pass. He said, kitten, you sure got class. Now, fitting and proper was her reply, as she arched a whisker above her eye. I'm be-ribboned and I sleep on silk, and daily I'm fed on certified milk. Now I should be happy with what I got, yeah. I should be happy, but happy I'm not. I should be happy, happy indeed, because I am highly pedigreed. Cheer up, said the tomcat, with a smile. Trust in your newfound friend a while. You don't have to leave your backyard fence. A kitten, what you need is experience. Now the joys of the world he then unfurled as he told her the tales of the outside world, suggesting at last with a leering laugh a trip for two down the primrose path. Now the morning after the night before, the kitten crept in at the hour of 4. The innocent look on her face had went, and in its place was a smile of content. Now, years later, the neighbors came to see the Persian kittens of the pedigreed fame. Oh, they weren't Persian, they were black and tan, that said their daddy was a traveling man, a snatching, scratching, traveling man. Yeah! Thank you. Oh, good old Persian kitten. Okay, now I've got a lion blouse to show you. Now this is bathing suit fabric, and I've cut the lion's heads out, another one, and sewed it back on and fringed the mane of it. And that's, can you tell it's kind of jiggly back there? That's just another idea. And then it's got one here on the hip. And I even had a headband, and my husband didn't care too much for that. But this is my peacock collage. This is taken from a sheet. The peacock is from a probably Martex sheet, I guess. And I cut that out and appliqued it onto a background. And then I took the feathers and the flowers and backed them and cut them out and twisted them and reapplied them onto my own design. And the tail of the bird, you see, this is the focal point. How all the lines, go up to the focal point, up to the head of the bird, and he is outlined in this halo up here, so your eye goes to the head. The tail of the bird, I made Velcro so I could take it off for washing, but afterwards I thought that was kind of silly because birds get wet. I don't think it would hurt the feathers any, but everybody says, oh, what a good idea, They say, how are you going to clean that? So that's how. But then on top of this, there's fabric underneath this netting. And it's calico. It's blue calico with tiny, tiny pink flowers in it. And it just subdues it, puts the netting over it. And it makes it so it's a different fabric. And you can use this calico. If you had just the calico, it would be too too bright with it. So it's to soften it, keep that soft look of this bird, I put the netting on top of the fabric in the same way here. This fabric under here is the same fabric as this pink. But with the netting over it, it subdues it. So that's basically the way it's done. Hold on a minute. This is my design, and I made this a few years ago. And it's fun to have it because it just covers up so much, you know. You can just eat all you want at dinner. And I wore it a couple of Christmases ago to a Christmas party. And I had, you know, the battery-operated lights. I wore them. And I couldn't find them today, so I brought this instead. But that's the idea. Now, I designed this dress, and when I did it in this plaid. It was a draping type thing. And I had a long beaded tassel that I put here. And they said, no, Marianne, take the tassel off. It was kind of like... Now, this is my Statue of Liberty dress. Actually, it's not a dress, it's a top, and you see the blue pants peeking up underneath. I wore this outfit in 1986 when the Youngs and my husband and I went to New York City for the unveiling of a lady, and I actually wore it on the 4th of July. And I tell you, was anybody there that day? Anybody else? Did you see me? It was such a wonderful day, and I mean, everybody was in such a happy mood, and, you know, people were milling on the streets and taking pictures, you know, and this one fellow, I was walking, and this is my husband about 10 feet behind me, because of course, I had the pointed hat, too, you know, and this man came up, and he was walking kind of fast, and he looked at me, and he stopped, and he went, "You win! You win!" And now to show you, to show you how this is made up in a regular outfit. This is a Vogue pattern, and that Statue of Liberty outfit was made from this pattern, but I thought I'd show you how it could look, other than the other way, because it really is kind of a nice pattern. It has the pants with it. It's wool, and I have worn that a lot. Now I got to put on this suit, and I wore this suit that I'm going to bring out to the auto show. Did any of you go down the auto show? Well, I was there for the big night. And I want to tell you, people were so dressed up. It was just wonderful, all in their long dresses, beaded silk, everything. And so I wore this suit, and I'll show it to you. I can't hardly walk in it, but it makes a great entrance. Anyway, this is my suit for the auto show. And it is my design. And the top, when I had this pink collar, I wanted to come down and sort of point to the flower, the big rose here. So that's why I made this pink also, and then the flower, the collar just kind of comes down and accentuates the flower down here. So that's my suit, and then I had black gloves with it. It was fun. It was really a nice evening. This is another one of my L'amours. I'm not going to put this on because I don't want to take too much more time here. But this has a dress under it, just a sheath dress, because it's very filmy material. And it has this edging on here, gold edging around it. But that is L'Amour. Let's put that. Oh, and this, well, I can't put this on. Anyway, Sharon, you could put this on, I think. No, I Now this is a Lemoore coat. Yeah, hard to say. Now turn around. That's and the collar goes up. Now that's the Lemoore coat. And what I've done here is, now turn around a minute. This is really the facing of the coat, and I put it on the outside instead of the inside, and then I just turn it up like that. So that's basically what that is. But it's open in the back then, and it's a nice kind of coat to wear for this kind of weather. You know, you get air in back there. Yeah, it is. Okay, thank you. And it's a little different style. It has the ruffle around it, and it's really more of a spring type thing. But I wanted to show it to you because I want to show you another way that you can wear it. And you can actually turn it around and wear the back to the front and use it as a bathing suit cover-up, if I can do this right. I can't get it. Anyway, if you did it this way, you know, you wouldn't have this dress on under it then, so you wouldn't see that dress back there. But you could wear it this way. It just gives it a different look. This is my Christmas one, and I just made this one up so that you could see it. It's a new one. But this is one of the prettiest Christmas prints I've seen this year. I just love this print. And I took the holly up here, and I did some quilting on that. And basically what I did, this is the way that, you know, it's made like that. But then when you tuck it in, it makes it, I call it the Snow White neckline. Remember how Snow White had those dresses that kind of hug her neck like that? And so that's my new Christmas lounging outfit. Here's another one in a beige. It's kind of a simple one, but it shows you how you can make them simply, and yet they look kind of elegant. Here's one that Joanna likes. If she'd tell me her hip size, I want her one. And this is just fringing around it and tying it off to the bottom. And again, I like it done that way so when so the collar stands up. But that's sweatsuit back. Here's another one. This is a new one. This is another new one that I just made, and that's an off to the side. Now this is not in the pattern either because it's new. And I took, you know, those old purses that used to have those beads on, kind of ugly purses. They were like flowers and stuff. Well, I found one like broken up in an antique shop, and so that's. I hope you're not wearing one. It is so. Those beautiful beads. But the colors just match this, you know, the colors in this perfectly. So I put them on here to add to it a little bit. And then I took the collar and made the collar very, very long, and I braided the end of the collar and then attached it down to the side. and left it fringe down there at the bottom. So that's basically what that is. Can you come up here and put this on for me? You. Come on up. I need somebody because I can't put it on over this very well. This is my new raincoat. It's a L'Amour. Now, turn around. Turn it all the way around. It's raining violets. Don't you love it? And turn around. You have a little on the pocket. Turn all the way around. Here. Now take it off. We're going to turn it other inside out. Now for this one, I needed a little support on the hem, so I have this little thing in here, this little gadget. It's two pieces. No. Look at the whole cake. The whole cake. Yeah, it's okay. That's it. Yeah. Yep. Very, very. This is the back. That's the cake. And this is the shoulder piece that goes on it, like so. I took all my junk jewelry and applied it, and it goes over the shoulder like that. Now this, you almost have to see this up close because it has a lot of punto work in it, and I've done by hand with the iridescent thread, and then there's some little flowers and sequins and stuff on it. And that is a L'Amour. If you have any junk jewelry, I'd love to have it. Idea for the L'Amour. This is the blouse, and it has the pants to it. And it's just another design, another idea. It's denim. All right, now I'm going to put another suit on here. This is my Paris suit. And I was lucky enough to go to Paris with the Eastern Michigan University group that went over, not this spring, but a year ago. And my daughter went on the trip, and we took in Christian Dior's, Jean Patou's. We went backstage, back into the workroom of these coutures, and it was absolutely a marvelous experience. I just had a great time, and I made this outfit to go to Christian Dior's. However, I didn't know that the people in France don't dress like this. I mean, I guess I thought I was back in Gigi Day or something. I don't know. But I thought, by God, I wore it. I'm gonna wear it, you know. And my daughter Sherry made one as equally as wild, and hers was gold lame, and it was darling. Really, she looked great in it. And we decided, by gosh, we're gonna wear them anyway. And I got pinched that day by a little 12-year-old schoolboy. And as we were sitting having lunch at this outdoor cafe, just my daughter and I, we split from the group so we could all eat lunch at different places. And we were sitting outside, it was a gorgeous day, and the waitress came up and she said, "Cinema? Cinema?" She thought we were movie stars. I said, "I love it, I love it." And then we took a little stroll down the red light district, which needless to say was a little exciting in this outfit. The street was about 12 feet wide. Honest to gosh, it was a narrow street. And we went down there. I don't know why he took us there, but maybe I do. We went down there to go to another, to Lesage place, and that's the way he took us. So here are these 20 women, 2 men, 1 man in the back, 1 man in the front, leading this pack of women through this red light district. And in every little corner, that entrance, was a prostitute. And all these, men on the street kind of had night before, I guess they were still hungover. And they were saying all kinds of, it's a good thing I didn't know any French, because they were talking to us, and I tell you, it was the longest 2 blocks I've ever walked in my life, because we had to walk single file. But anyway, so I can't get rid of this suit. I mean, this suit has lots of memories. But the suit is made from fabric that I got at Haberman's, and I cut it out. I was going to put other materials with it, but it was so beautiful on black, on solid black, that I just decided I couldn't add anything to it to make it look any better. So I used the black background, and I cut out this medallion, and I used trapunto work in it. It has beading on it. It has paint on it, and probably anything else I could think of that might look terrific on it. And I did the same thing around here to the edge of the suit. So this is kind of the way I made it. And then I of course I didn't make the hat, but I put the flowers on and the big bow and so forth. So this is my Paris suit. And while we were over there, we went to Christian Dior's fur salon, and he did have beautiful things. And one of them was a lace fur coat, and I can't remember now what the fur was, but it was beautiful brown fuzzy fur, and it had lace in between. It was stripped around. It went around, like this, and it was just beautiful. It stood out. I mean, it looked like a teddy bear, but it was gorgeous. But it had the lace in between the fur. So when I was over there, I bought this piece of imitation Persian lamb. It's a nice piece of imitation lamb. And instead of making the stripes go around me, which I don't think I really need, I made them go up and down, and I put the lace in between, and I'm going to put it on. A little bit over this coat. It's going to be a little bit difficult. I've never done it with the coat before. And I use a doily under here to peek under the lace. And so that's basically the way the coat is. They don't all match, but they all have that same glitter to them, and they work on it. So that's my coat, my little coat. Now, next is an outfit that I made to go into the Fairfield Wearable Art Show in Houston, Texas, a couple years ago, and it traveled all over the United States for a year, and it's strictly a showpiece. It's not to be worn other than, in a runway show. But I got it back, and I thought you might like to see it. It's probably 3 or 4 months worth of work. And I'll show it to you just 1 second here. They put this show on, I think it's been 11 times. And it's quite a thing, if you can get into it. It's put on by Fairfield products. They make, quilting things, that type of stuff. Now this is called Fit for a Queen. That's what they call it. They name everything. And most of the work, as you can tell, is on the back of it. And it has painting on it. It's been trapuntoed. It has a lot of beading, hand beading, and of course the draping of the lace here. And since these things are taken across the country and put into style shows all over on the quilting shows, they want you to make things so that they are not going to be injured. When I'm not injured, but torn when they're wearing. They want them to be well made. So the lace sleeves in this, for instance, I backed that with another fabric so that they didn't catch their rings or something on the sleeve, on the sleeve, and then I put paint on the edge of it to seal that so that it doesn't fray out. And the front of this, the zipper, so that you couldn't see the back of the zipper, I put some lace over it, or netting, and then I painted the back of the zipper to match this that's up here. You almost have to come up and see this, but I'll walk around just for a few minutes here so you can see it a little bit closer. But there's, it's just a lot of work into it, and but it was fun. I love doing it, and I got a kick out of having it, going around the country. You can see it a little closer here.